What would you do if the person you trusted for 30 years calmly told you they were leaving to spend the night with someone else? I remember the exact second everything broke. 6:17 p.m. The lamb was resting under foil, rosemary and garlic still rising in soft waves from the kitchen. Candles flickered, 10 of them, one for every 3 years we'd made it. I thought it was poetic. I thought she'd smile. Then the door opened. Her heels hit the floor, sharp, echoing, unfamiliar. Not the sound of someone coming home, the sound of someone arriving only to leave somewhere again. "Parker," Beatrix said, stepping into the light. I turned and forgot to breathe. Black dress, tight, intentional. Her hair styled like she was walking into a spotlight. And that perfume? It wasn't the one I bought her every Christmas. This was chosen, just not for me. "You did all this?" she asked, glancing at the table. "For us," I said. "Happy anniversary." She didn't smile. That was the moment I should have known I was the only one still celebrating. "I need to tell you something before we sit down," she said. The room went quiet. Even the flames seemed to hold still. "I won't be staying tonight." I blinked once. "What?" "Jordan invited me." Muscular, handsome Jordan from the nightclub Nightlife. The name landed like static. "He's my dream man. I'll be staying over at his place." There it was. 30 years reduced to a sentence. "On our anniversary?" I asked, my voice too calm to be real. "It's just one night, Parker. Don't exaggerate. Don't make a big deal out of it." Don't exaggerate. I looked at her. Really looked, this time. I was assessing the situation. "You're my foundation," she added softly. "That's why I can be honest with you." Honest. Imagine being thanked for your loyalty while it's being used against you. "I'll be back in the morning," she said, picking up her bag. She slid something under the fruit bowl, a note. Then she leaned in, brushed my cheek with a kiss that didn't land, and walked out. The door closed, the candles kept burning, and I stood there staring at an empty chair, realizing something cold and irreversible. She didn't think I would do anything. She thought I would wait. Naive. How wrong she was. What if the worst part isn't the betrayal, but discovering how carefully it was planned? I didn't chase her, didn't call, didn't smash anything. I closed the front door, walked back into the candlelit kitchen, and turned off the music. Silence. That's where truth speaks the loudest. I opened my laptop, shared cloud account, family storage, the system I set up years ago, photos, backups, everything synced automatically. She never cared how it worked. She should have, because that night it told me everything she never intended me to see. The newest photos loaded first. Beatrix in the mirror, same dress she had just worn out. Then I scrolled and froze. Him, Jordan, shirtless, smiling, one arm around her waist like it belonged there. Date, 9 weeks ago. I kept scrolling. 8 weeks, 7, 6, each picture closer, bolder, colder. This wasn't a mistake. This was a timeline. My chest tightened, but my hands stayed steady, because panic doesn't reveal truth. Method does. I opened our shared email, deleted folder. That's where people hide things they think are gone. They're never gone. And there it was, her message. "I'll handle Parker. He'll forgive me, as always. He never holds a grudge." I read it once, then again. Then I whispered it out loud. Never holds a grudge. That's when I realized she didn't just betray me, she studied me. Another thread, her to Jordan. "Don't worry, it's an open marriage. He knows." My fingers went still on the keyboard. Open marriage? I leaned back slowly, staring at the screen like it might correct itself. It didn't. She hadn't just lied to me. She had built an entirely different reality for him. A reality where I was irrelevant. The phone rang. Ray. "Happy anniversary, brother. How's the night going?" I looked at the screen, at the photos, at the message. Then I said, quietly, "She left." A pause. "What do you mean, left?" "With another man." Silence. Then low and sharp. "Parker, that's not a mistake." "I know," I said. My voice didn't shake, because something inside me had already shifted. This wasn't about emotion anymore. This was evidence. I closed the laptop slowly, because in that moment, I understood one thing with absolute clarity. She didn't expect me to look. And now that I had, there was no going back. What if the person who betrayed you didn't just plan the affair, but planned your downfall too? By 11:42 p.m., I was sitting across from my lawyer, Alexandra Barnes. No small talk, no sympathy. "Start from the beginning," she said. So I did. The anniversary, the exit, the photos, the emails. When I finished, she didn't react the way most people would. She leaned forward. "Parker, she's been preparing for this." My jaw tightened. "How far?" "Far enough to visit my colleague, divorce attorney, 3 months ago. He let it slip at a recent party." 3 months? Before she kissed me goodbye and called it one night? The room went cold. "She intended to file first," Alexandra continued. "Control the narrative, paint you as distant, unresponsive, maybe even unstable." I let out a slow breath. Of course. She didn't just want out, she wanted to win. Spencer Bennett, financial advisor, joined us just before midnight, numbers in hand, calm, precise. "I ran a quick audit," he turned his laptop toward me. "There's been consistent transfers to a private account in her name." "How much?" $77,000 over 5 months. I didn't speak, didn't need to. The pattern was complete. Affair, money, legal positioning. She hadn't taken a step without thinking 3 moves ahead. The only thing she didn't calculate was me changing the game. "So what do we do?" Alexandra asked. I met her eyes. "Nothing emotional," I said. "Only facts." She nodded once. "Good answer." By morning, I was gone. Packed essentials, documents, quiet exit. No scene. Just a note on the counter. "We'll handle this legally." Her messages came fast. "Where are you? This is ridiculous. You're overreacting, Parker." Then, it was one mistake. I stared at that last message for a long time. One mistake? What a liar. How do you call something a mistake when you planned every detail? I didn't reply. Instead, I called Spencer. "Lock down my personal accounts," I said. A pause. Then, "Understood." 24 hours later, her tone changed. "You had no right to touch that money." There it was. Not sorrow, not regret. Fear. Real fear. I showed the message to Alexandra the next morning. She read it, then gave a small, knowing nod. "She's rattled," she said. "Good. Because rattled people make mistakes." And for the first time in 30 years, she was the one losing control. What destroys a lie faster? Evidence or the people who refuse to believe it anymore? The first crack came from my son. "Dad, you need to see this," Teddy said, his voice tight. We sat at his kitchen table, laptop between us. He pulled up a recovered calendar entry, something Beatrix thought she had deleted. There it was, a meeting, downtown law office, 3 months before our anniversary, time-stamped, verified. "She was going to file first," he said quietly. I nodded once. I know. But hearing it from him made it real in a different way. This wasn't betrayal in the moment. This was strategy over time. My daughter, Ariana, reacted even more emotionally. She did not call. She walked straight into the storm. She walked into the house, and her voice echoed through the living room. "How could you do this to him?" she demanded. Beatrix stood frozen, arms crossed like armor. "You don't understand." "No," Ariana snapped, her voice shaking. "I understand perfectly." Silence fell heavy. "You treated Dad like a structure," she said, tears in her eyes. "Like something to live inside, not someone to love." Beatrix flinched. First time. Truth doesn't shout. It lands and stays. Then the whole story surfaced online and went viral on social media. Not all at once. A post, a comment, a screenshot, then everything. The affair, the messages, the open marriage lie. People connected the dots faster than she could deny them. Beatrix's social circle, gone quiet. Her workplace, asking questions. Beatrix's reputation, collapsing in real time. I didn't post a word. Didn't need to. Because facts travel farther than excuses. And her lover, Jordan, he lasted exactly 8 days. That's all it took for reality to catch up. No money flowing, no polished narrative, no admiration. Just consequences. He called once. "Parker, I didn't know," he said. "She told you agreed to all of this." "I believed what was convenient," I replied calmly. A pause. Then, "I'm out." Click. The dream man disappeared the moment the dream stopped paying. Beatrix called that night, her voice unsteady now. "Parker, please, this has gotten out of control." I closed my eyes for a second. "No," I said quietly. "This is exactly where your plan was always going." Silence. Then a whisper. "I never thought you'd do this." I exhaled slowly. "I know." And that was the moment her story finally fell apart. What do you do when the dust settles and there's nothing left to fight for? After that final call, after her voice broke and the line went dead, everything moved quickly, faster than I expected, faster than she had planned. The divorce didn't turn into a war. The divorce had been clean, fast, precise. Alexandra dismantled every claim. Spencer secured every account. Beatrix didn't fight much in the end. People only fight when they believe they can win. She knew she couldn't. Within weeks, it was over. 30 years reduced to a file stamped final. And yet the real ending didn't feel like an ending at all. It felt like silence, the kind that forces you to face yourself. So I did the only thing I knew how to do. I worked. Long hours, focused days, no distractions. Not to escape, but to rebuild structure. Because structure had always been my strength. I had just given it to the wrong person. Slowly, something shifted. Not overnight, but steadily. Like a man relearning how to stand without leaning on anyone. I met Verity Bryant on a Tuesday morning. Conference room, quarterly review. Nothing remarkable at first. She was 15 years younger than me, sharp, calm in a way that didn't demand attention, but held it anyway. She spoke when necessary, listened more than most, and when everyone else rushed to fill silence, she didn't. That caught my attention.
After the meeting, she lingered. "You're Parker, right?" she asked. "I am. I've heard you're the one who fixes things when they go wrong." I almost smiled. "Not everything," I said. She studied me for a second, longer than most people would. "Still," she said softly, "you look like someone who knows how to start again." And for the first time since everything fell apart, that didn't feel like a question. It felt like the beginning of an answer. What happens after betrayal ends and silence finally becomes peace? Verity never tried to replace anything. She just showed up, steady, honest, real. 7 months later, I stood in a house that didn't remember Beatrix. I moved closer to my children and grandchildren, built something new, Not from need, from choice. No echoes, no tension, no waiting, just quiet, the kind that doesn't hurt. I placed the last box down when Verity stepped into the doorway, sunlight catching in her hair. "You chose well," she said, looking around. "No," I replied, meeting her eyes. "I chose differently." I handed her a small box. "No speeches?" she smiled. "No performances," I said, "just truth." She opened it. Silence. Then, taking out the ring, she said, "Yes, Parker, I agree." And that made all the difference. My days changed. Mornings with coffee on the porch, evenings with my children, Teddy dropping by with updates, Ariana staying longer than usual, like she was making up for lost time. One night, my grandson climbed into my lap and asked, "Grandpa, are you happy now?" I didn't answer right away because happiness used to feel complicated. Now it didn't. "Yes," I said finally, "I am." Not because everything was perfect, but because nothing was pretending anymore. Sometimes I think about that night, the candles, the empty chair, the man I used to be, the man she thought would always stay. She believed I was her safety net. She never imagined I would become my own.
Friends, what do you think of this story? Write your opinion in the comments. Would you like more stories? Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button so you don't miss any videos. See you tomorrow.